Hi, today I'm going to be sharing with you my method for creating passwords. I've came up with an idea a few years ago to create different passwords for different sites because that's the best practice to never use the same password twice. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, or at least I use the same password very rarely, and you'll see why. Um, I wanted a password that will obviously be tagged super strong by the most by most password scores, meaning that it will take a long time for hackers to crack it. Also, I wanted my passwords to be anti-keylogger. If you're not familiar with that keylogging, you can do some research, but basically this is either a software installed on a host computer when you're in a cafe or at friends, and that software is basically recording every keystroke that you make, and this can be either software or hardware. Like you see this little USB dongle where the keyboard is plugged into that dongle. Well, that records every keystroke that you make. And after that, the hacker can just look at everything you typed and see that, for example, Mike98A at yahoo.com, well, his password was Mike. So I wanted my passwords to be anti-keylogging as much as possible. Obviously, this method is not bulletproof. All passwords can be cracked eventually, but you'll see that it will lower the risk at, I believe, at a maximum. And the last thing, but nonetheless, I wanted my passwords to be super easy to remember because I didn't want to rely on any password provider software or extension. So basically what I'm doing is I wanted to make sure that I meet the minimum standards, which are usually somewhere between like minimum 8 characters, and contains uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, symbols. So this was kind of a challenge for me, and I really wanted to find a solution to a strong password that I can remember, and that meets all of those points here. And what I came up with is using a path, because using a path like this path here is somewhat invisible to keylogging, because if you look at like a bunch of keystroke entered in a keylogger, and you see a path there, that'll just be okay. The guy is a little bit geek and just pop like command run and type is on path here, and they will not quickly recognize that as a password. Obviously, that's not bulletproof, but I believe it helps a lot. Keylogging is not my main concern, but I believe this will make it a little bit harder to find. Also, by using a path, you're already covering most of the requirements, meaning uppercase letter, special characters, lowercase letters, you even have a space here, and you have some length in your password. So that's the pretty much good idea from the start. You don't have anything to do but go into your C folder, and you have plenty of ideas here. So let's say I'm going to go into Windows. I recommend not using a password that has a space, because some of like you want your password as universal as it can be, so any website can accept it. So like C, Windows, and you have plenty of ideas here that you can take. Let's say I go into debug and I have a file here, so that's perfect. What I can do is shift right click and do copy path here, and I'm gonna pop a notepad, and I have my path here. That will be my password. So all I need to do is remember that thing. Now, to get this to a unique password per site, what I'm doing is I'm using the domain name. So let's say I want to create an account on GitHub. So github.com being the domain name, you can use that as tokens. So I have my path here, and what I'll do is I'll decide to incorporate parts of the domain name in my password, and the parts that I'm going to choose are always going to be the same. So for example, let's take the second character of any domain name, because any domain name will be at least 3 characters long, so you can easily pick one of the first 3 as your token. So let's say here we have an I. So what I'll do is I'll incorporate that into the path. So let's say I'll add another folder here called I. And in the file name, well, let's say I'm going to be taking the very last letter of the domain name, including the top level extension. So github.com, I'll take the M and incorporate it like here. So this is my password for github.com. So let's say I want to create a user on youtube.com. My password will be C Windows debug O, which is the second character of the domain name, net setup underscore m dot log, m being the very last letter of the domain name. The only thing I will be missing here is a number, because some websites require a number, so I suggest you put a number there so your password is like as universal as it can be. So maybe here in the folder setup, I could place just a 1 here, and that thing will be like standard. But if you want to modify this, and let's say instead of 1, you take the number of letters that are in the domain name, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for GitHub, it will be I6, for YouTube, 7, so 07 for YouTube, and there you go. So now you have unique passwords for any domain name. You have a password that you can remember. All you need to do is remember that path. And you have a password that is super strong. If I copy that and go into the password meter.com and enter that here, I get a 100% score, even with bonuses here, because that password is super strong. And if I go to how secure is my password.net, enter my password here, we see that it will take 20 quindecillion years to crack my password. So that brings this password to a super strong value. So that's it. That's my trick for creating unique and super strong and rememberable passwords. I've been doing this for years and never forgot my passwords because of that. Again, it's super easy to go into C, Windows, or any other folder and just pick up something you see there, so it will be as genuine as possible, and be creative with that, but not too much. Keep in mind that it has to blend into a keylogging log. If you want to be even more careful with keylogging, you see that most of the time password is following the username. So what you can do if you want to be extra careful with keyloggers and you have a pretty good reason to believe that someone is keylogging you, what you want to do is avoid signing in directly in the website you're trying to sign into, because keyloggers are often recording what is the name of the window you are typing into. So what you want to do is maybe pop the command run box on Windows and type your username here, and what you want to do is you want to copy it, and you want to go somewhere else. So you take another tab and on something totally off topic. Maybe you watch a video or you comment and you type in some stuff, and you go back into your website you're trying to log in, and you paste your username here. What you want to do is you bring the Windows Explorer back, so you'll be typing your path here, and you type your password here. So it's believable that you are typing a path into the Explorer window, so in the keylogger that will blend very nicely. So you type your path here, I'm logging into GitHub, so that will be debug, that will be o1, and that will be net setup m.log. And what you want to do is you copy it and maybe you hit enter just to get the error prompt. Oh, okay, so it's believable that you're doing something. And then you close that window and you can do another search just to make sure. You watch a video, maybe you comment something, add a comment, do another search, type in some stuff, so it will like the idea is to spread apart the typing of the username and the password in the keylog. Then you go back into GitHub and you paste that here, and then you do something else again. You go read some news, do some search, comment, and then go back, hit sign. Obviously that's not my real password, so that didn't sign in, but that's the idea. So when you go into keylogger log, let me show you what I mean by that. The idea when the hacker is going to be reading his log is that your username will be somewhere here, and then a bunch of stuff is happening, and your path, like this path here, will be somewhere, and that path will be your password, but it will be very hard to recognize.